Good morning. This is the JP Dinnell podcast, episode 21. I am JP Dinnell, and as always, I have Lucas with me. What's up, brother?
What's going on, sugar?
How you doing, buddy?
Now that I've got my sink clog a little bit more under control, better. But I won't know for sure until like after we're done recording, because I put some this stuff called lye in there, which is supposed to just like decimate anything. On the warning, it's like put a pot over the sink because it could erupt. Make sure there's no other chemicals in there because the lye could erupt. Make sure that the pot you put over it is not aluminum because it can eat through the aluminum. I was like, cool. Well, if it's that dangerous, like, should I get it on my skin? It's like, no, if you get it on your skin, immediately call an ambulance. Don't wash it off. Water could cause extra damage. If you get it in your eyes, don't do that. But if you ingest it, have a glass of milk. That's literally what it says. Don't induce vomiting if you ingest it. Have a couple of glasses of milk. So
That's very interesting.
yeah, like if I get it on me, it's really bad. But if I drink it, I should probably just have a glass of milk. So
That's
why I'm not a chemist.
Yeah, it's above my pay grade.
Yeah, for sure.
And my level of comprehension. All right.
No doubts.
I want to jump into, so, it's cool. We were talking about how I'm like, I have this bad habit of starting a book and then starting another one and then stopping. And then it was cool. Like you were like, oh, I read multiple books at the same time. And it's funny because my own thoughts of how I should be reading a book has actually limited me from reading effectively. I always felt like if you start a book, that's the only book you need to be reading until you finish it.
Yeah.
And in reality, and as I was thinking about it when we left that podcast recording, I was driving home. I'm like, well, that's not how I do anything else in life. I do multiple things throughout the day, throughout the week. It's just put in different time categories. And your brain, I don't know. So anyways, it was really cool that I came to that like realization myself based off of what you said in the podcast. And so you'd recommended this book, 6 Tires, No Plan, The Impossible Journey of the Most Inspirational Leader That Almost Nobody Knows. And we'll dive into this.
Yep.
But this is a guy that started, for those that are watching on YouTube, you can see the book, Discount Tire.
Yeah.
And your brother works at one, correct?
My brother works at one. I worked at one for a little bit.
Yeah.
Like all of our students that look for jobs, they're like, I don't know where to work. The number one company that I send people to, guys and girls, because I think it's great for young ladies to learn how to do this stuff too. Go to Discount Tire.
I'm literally going to have, I was talking with this, with a buddy after you had told me this, and I was like, I want Aiden to work there.
Oh, no doubt.
And
It's phenomenal, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So this book is written by Michael Rosenbaum. And this is, this book is about the founder,
Bruce Halle.
Yeah. So I'm going to read the intro. It's only it's just a little over 2 pages, but I think it's awesome how it sets the tone for who he is. And it's very inspirational, which inspiration leads to discipline, because when you're inspired by people, then you want to do stuff, to emulate them. And one of the things that when I'm inspired by somebody, I do an evaluation of the habits that I need to create to emulate that person.
Yeah, 100%.
And so motivation, as we know, is going to fade really quickly. But when you're inspired, we're all motivated. We're all motivated to go do stuff. But ultimately, like, discipline is what we need in our lives, and that discipline comes from inspiration. And I think that's why it's important to share people's stories. And that was the intent behind this podcast. You and I talked about it. It's like, hey, man, I want to share people's stories, life's lessons. Like, you hear Ryan Vaughn. How can you not be inspired to go build a business?
Absolutely.
And his story literally takes away all the stupid excuses people make up.
Yep.
And so, anyways, if you haven't checked out
Mike
those
Mitchell's
2 episodes,
story too.
Yeah, every guest we've had, literally every guest, like Cody, right? Like blown out, torn hamstring and ACL and MCL and all this stuff in his knee, wants to go into the Marines. Like, okay, cool, no excuses, make it happen. Danny Zeem's story, and we haven't even finished some of the stuff we need to talk about with Danny. We need to get back in town. Joel. Dude, unreal.
Joel's stuff now is so relevant to what is actually happening.
It's terrifying.
We had Joel on, and then
all of a sudden now you start seeing drone stuff all over.
Exactly, right? Like it's all we lost. a handful of service members a couple of weeks ago to a drone attack because they simply didn't realize that the drone that the engineers sent out was being followed by another one. And so I sent Joel a message, and Joel was like, that drone would not have been within 300 yards of that base if they had our technology. It's like service members saved. Yeah. And yeah, when you look at the caliber and the people that we've had on, it's insane. It's just insane.
Yeah.
That's what makes this my favorite time of the week.
Yeah, I love it. All right, introduction from, again, the book is called 6 Tires, No Plan. And I was telling you about what I want to do today on the drive here, and you just started laughing. And the reason why you're laughing is because we might do something that we said we would not do in the future. Yeah. But however, who knows?
Hashtag never say never.
Hashtag never settle. Wait, what?
What?
All right, more than 6 miles above the Gulf Coast, Bruce Halle, is saying grace. It is a moment that will pass unnoticed by his colleagues at Discount Tire Company. Hawley's lunch is laid out in front of him. His head is bowed, and he is speaking softly. But he has not announced to the passengers on his jet that it is the time for everyone to say grace. Each person has his meal, and each is free to do or not do at his individual practice, as his individual practice directs. It is a Bruce Hawley moment. This is his jet. That's so gangster. These are his employees, and this is Hawley's food that everyone is about to consume. For many corporate chieftains, yes. Yep. This also would be the moment to insist that every employee follow the leader. Hawley passes up the opportunity, following his own compass without demanding that others mimic his behavior. Often, in the process of identifying the secrets of Hawley's success, it is important to focus on the things that don't happen. Hawley doesn't insist on being the center of every discussion. He doesn't discuss his possessions as if they were trophies on a wall, and you can talk to him for days on end without ever having a conversation about tires. Truth be told, Bruce Hawley does not love tires. He doesn't love tire stores either, even though he has amassed an empire of more than 800 retail tire stores over the 5 decades since his founding of Discount Tire Company. What Hawley does love is paying forward, creating the opportunity for the next guy who is willing to work hard to build a life and pay forward to the guy after that. Dude, that's incredible.
It's the culture of the company too, man. It's wild.
Yeah. He loves to see his own success reflected and created through the success of other people. This is a story of an everyday hero, a very ordinary guy who overcame obstacles to lead to a very extraordinary life. It's a story of an average Joe who makes it possible for thousands of other average Joes to become everyday heroes in their own right. Like, just think about that from a leadership aspect. That's yes, I love this. Now, yeah. At first, people might question the idea that anything can be everyday about Bruce Hawley in his life. The man is a billionaire. Yep, that's a billionaire. After all, the owner of a the man is a billionaire, after all. The owner of a multi-billion-dollar company and a legend in the industry. He goes where he wants, when he wants, and when he arrives, the door is always open. Money is the root of misperceptions, though. The Rorschach test of our own values.
Rorschach test of our
Rorschach?
values. Yep.
Yeah, the Rorschach test of our own values. I actually had that underlined. Like, I need to look that up and...
So it's the ink blot test.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
So like whenever you throw, it's like, hey, what do you see? And we see money, and then we determine somebody's value and what they think, what their lifestyle is based off of money.
That. Yeah, that's rad. Many people will ascribe superior taste and judgment to the most basic acts of the wealthy. Others will dismay any kindness as meaningless, arguing that they can afford it. In that regard, money is also the great unequalizer, casting the actions and lives of the wealthy into a different hue than those of people with more limited resources. Remove the camouflage of wealth, though, and it is easier to see the man behind the means. Bruce Hawley was a poor kid and a poorer student, lacking focus, bedeviled by the unpredictable temper, often the loser in his battles of conscience, unsure of where or how he would find any direction in life. In the ironic alchemy that creates everyday heroes, he was the perfect candidate. Over the course of a lifetime, Halle has created a legacy not by building on intimate gifts, but by finding the way to get past his own limitations and find a new spark for good. You know, when I was driving back from Jiu-Jitsu this morning with Pastor Ethan, we were talking about how when he first became a part of Milestone and he was praying with Pastor Jeff, Pastor Tyron, and Pastor Eddie, they were praying over him and kind of prophesied some things that they had for him. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that Pastor Jeff said to him was like, hey, I'm phrasing what he told me this morning. He goes, your brain was beautifully designed the way that it is. And what he didn't know is that Pastor Ethan had some insecurities about having ADHD and the way he thinks and processes stuff. And Pastor Jeff's like, no, that's by God's design. Use it to your advantage. Which is pretty cool. If you think of it from that perspective.
Yep.
You are beautifully designed in God's own image. God created you this way.
Yeah.
He wanted you to be this way. And so Pastor Ethan was like, that was a game changer for him because it changed his self-identity, the way he looked at things. And as I was reading this, I was like, same thing.
Yep, 100%.
So he made many mistakes as anyone else along the way, but he did two things that most people fail to do. He learned from his mistakes, and he made it a practice to blame nobody but himself when things went awry. Well, you know I like that one.
That sounds familiar.
You know I like that one. Let's go. All right. That's the thing about everyday heroes. They aren't born to greatness or with superhuman powers. Trace the history of almost all of them, and they will have seemed to have more or less the same capability and the same potential as any other person on the block. The people who make the leap are those who do more, who go beyond, who make the extra effort. Beyond the celebrity buzz, we admire people most when they walk the walk. Amen. Bruce Halle walks the walk. His greatest achievement isn't tied to the wealth he's accumulated or the number of tires he sold. What makes Halle special is his consistent, disciplined application of golden rule basics to create opportunity for thousands of ordinary guys who want to do more, go beyond, and make the extra effort, even if they don't realize it at the time they join his company. How cool is that?
That has been the case with so many people that I know that have worked for Discount Tire. Because like he used to come to, they would put on these big events for all of their managers and their associate managers and anybody who was kind of like at the store that was a full timer. Mm-hmm. They would just rent out the Omni Hotel in downtown Dallas and just like put on a thing. They'd pay for all of the rooms for everybody, everybody's food, beverages, all that stuff was taken care of. Like you come, bring your wife, and we'll take care of you for the night. And they would do awards and made it a huge thing. And he talked when he was alive, he talked with every one of the guys that wanted to come up and talk with him and would like remember stuff about their families and all of that. And that culture, like
that is Leif Babbitt.
Absolutely trickled down.
100%
Really?
Leif Babbitt. Oh, we had a guy come to an FTX this last year that Leif was at, and the guy had been to a previous one 2 years prior. And it said something during the debrief, and Leif remembered it. He goes, hey, I remember when you came back to the FTX in St. Louis, this is one of the things that you said. And the guy was like, yeah. And I look at Cody, we all look at each other like, what?
That's weird. Leif's a robot. Leif's AI.
How do you do that? It's, you know, it goes back to the characteristic of, like we all know Leif cares.
Yeah.
Everyone at Echelon Front cares.
Yep,
Jocko
100%.
cares. We all care. Leif cares.
Yeah.
It is undoubted. So, all right, I'm about to finish this up. For many business leaders, success flows. So I love that we don't edit any of this out.
It shouldn't be edited, especially now for our business leaders.
For all the business leaders out there, I got an idea. All right, I'm like a child. For many business leaders, success flows from the income statement.
Ooh.
From market share and accumulation of personal wealth. I can't use that with big words, though.
Right.
For Halle, success is measured by the legions of tire changers who strive to model their careers and their lives after the guy who gave them the first real opportunity to succeed. Since starting Discount Tire more than 5 decades ago, Halle has consistently paid forward to a new generation of ordinary Joes and motivated them to pay forward as well. As they do, they follow the path of the debt-ridden Marine who set the wheels in motion in an old plumbing supply store in Ann Arbor more than 50 years ago. This is a story of a very ordinary guy who has established a very extraordinary legacy. Dude. Man, there's so much good stuff in this book from what I've seen so far. But I just wanted to open up with that. For those of you that are still listening with us, we appreciate you guys being here.
Those who stuck around.
Yeah. From our different business ideas.
Mm-hmm.
What do you got from that? I know you recommended the book to myself and the guys on the Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu podcast.
Yep.
By the way, that's Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu _ on that Instagram.
Yeah, check it out.
But man, there's so many different ways I want to go about from that. What's initially on your heart?
So when I got a copy of this book when I got hired. So my brother was already a full-time worker for Discount Tire. He's been working there since he was like 17. And their corporate structure and corporate culture is insane. Like with the guys who are managers of those stores they've been with the company for 10, 15, 25 years and most of them have started working there as teenagers. Mm-hmm. Like my brother started there at 17, and has, graduated college, has degrees, and he's like, I don't want to do any of that stuff. I want to keep working at Discount Tire because the culture is so great and everything is so awesome. But so I get hired on after I was a missionary in Canada, and it was like my second gig. So I was a part-timer. They gave all of us a copy of this book. As soon as we hire on, they're like, hey, you should check this out. This will give you an idea about what we're about. And so I read it, but they're like, the majority of the guys don't, because they're giving it, most of the time they're giving it to teenagers, right?
Oh.
And so like you come on and they're giving a 16 or 17-year-old. Well, my first day walking in the door at Discount Tire, I'm 25, right? So I'm way older than all the rest of these kids that are in there. But the work ethic that they have, the amount of stuff that they give away is insane. So like we've primarily dealt with Discount Tire. They're also called America's Tire out on the West Coast, because growing up, like if we got our tires changed at Discount Tires, we had a lifetime free like rotation balances, air checks, flat repairs, all that stuff.
Yeah.
They do all of that stuff for anyone though. You don't have to buy your tires there. If you just show up at a Discount Tire and you're like, hey, I need my tires rotated. They're like, cool, we'll put you on the list. They do all their tire rotations for free. If you come to Discount Tire and you've got a flat, they'll fix your flat for free.
Oh, yeah. I did know that. I didn't know the tire rotation.
Yeah, the tire rotation's free.
They'll fix your flat for free. If you need air,
same
air
thing. Checks are all for free. Yep. You're having trouble with the little like sensors, they'll reset those for free if they can get it done with a reset. Like the amount of just like nickel and dime business, and putting it that way, that they give away is insane. Half of the work that we did during any of my shifts was free labor, because I was hustling to do the tire rotations and all of that stuff, and to make sure that all that stuff was good, and we didn't make any money for that. And then on top of that, they price match and they give their bottom dollar in the industry for prices across the board. So like none of it makes sense at all. But every day whenever we went into work, there was a wait list. As soon as we got in, our whole day, if I got in at 10 a.m., our whole day was likely booked, and we're instructed to keep one bay empty for, the person who has a flat that like absolutely has to get it fixed, and we find a way to work them in. So if you get, 6 bays, you keep one that is not scheduled all day long so that you can work in anybody that needs help, because that was a big
emergency type of thing.
Yep.
Like, hey, I'm headed to the airport. Like,
yeah, I got to get something done. Or, you know, more often than not for us, it was like a mom who like dropped her kids off at school, and now, you know, she doesn't have any money, and then, you know, needs a flat repair. So we would do it. And then we always kept whatever the nicest used tires were, a couple in each size, that the guys basically like gave away. It would be tires that came off of a brand new car. Like somebody was like, you know, their truck or their new ride, and they immediately wanted wheels and tires for it.
Oh, yeah.
We'd keep those new wheels and keep those new tires and sell them as used to like people that needed them. And they're like, well, I can't do this. I'm like, all right, here's a $400 tire that we've got that's used, and like I can't afford it. And it's like, if you got $20, we'll put it on for you and go. And they're like, are you serious? Yeah, and that was across the board the culture of the company, because that's how he was. It's wild. I got to meet him on a couple of occasions because they were big into NASCAR.
Yeah.
And so there was a company I was working for that did travel logistics for like the Super Bowl and for NASCAR and a few other things. And so I opened up his, you know, the door to the helicopter that he was in. So he would fly, and most of the like the car owners or sponsors get to the races this way, is that they fly into the airport, and then a helicopter picks them up and brings them to the box, and then they book.
Yeah.
So my whole job was just to open up the door, and I wasn't working for Discount Tire at the time. Opened up the door, recognized him because my brother had the book, and my brother, like I said, had worked for the company for a really long time at this point. I was like, he handed me like a couple of $100 in cash, and I just opened up the door. I was like, wow, you don't have to do that. And he's like, no, we try and take care of everybody. You guys are always great to us. Passed me on the shoulder. And I was like, who is that? And they're like, oh, that's Bruce Hawley, the guy that owns Discount Tire. Well, when he came back, I was like, yeah, my brother works for you. And he was like, oh, that's cool. What store does he work at? Whatever. So I told him when he came to Dallas the next time, he's like, he met Thomas, my brother, and he goes, yeah, your brother, he goes, your brother's super proud of you. He opened the door to my helicopter.
What?
I was like, what the heck is that? And Thomas was like, you told him you were proud of me? He's like, yeah, we had like this very brief conversation about like what a hard worker you were, and you know how you're just taking every advantage you could of the company, and what an awesome opportunity I felt like he gave you, working there. He's like, yeah, well he let me know and just told me thanks for being such a great employee. It's like, oh, sweet. Like just that amount of just like care for the employees and all that. And not to mention, they take several of their managers a few times a year, and their lower and mid-level managers, they all take a trip to Tahoe, and he pays for them.
Favorite place in the world.
They go fishing, they go jet skiing. They've got a couple of excursions that they take them all on, and it's all on the company's dime. They take them to the big like car shows, the SEMA stuff, and it's not just for like his C-level execs. Right? If you just got made a full-time employee, like you're going to get tickets to motocross and everything else that they do that they're a part of, just to show you that they appreciate you. It's the wildest thing. The company culture that everybody's trying to create now, he's been doing for 50 years. And his son and I believe it's his son and his daughter that are running the company now, like they're continuing it. They're opening up more stores.
God,
they're not
right?
closing the doors on stuff.
Praise God. Because
absolutely.
You never know.
No, you
but
don't.
With a guy like that, I would be shocked if that wasn't ingrained into who his family is as well.
No doubt. Yeah.
Like, I mean, you don't build a legacy with those values without them. I mean, if you're passing on those values and that mindset and those habits to your employees, but you didn't do it at home,
right?
That's a problem.
Yeah.
And there's something else going on. So I would figure and hope that it would be with his kids
passed down. Yeah, but like, how many times have you talked about your parents and like the stuff that you saw them do?
Oh yeah.
And now that is, I mean, full transparency. Like the example that they set affects me and my family, right? Because I just got. You say interesting. I just got like 10 new rash guards. Right.
Oh, okay.
Right. And like stuff like that. So Kirsten is like, what are we going to do? We don't have a place for these. I was like, yeah, I got some old socks I'm getting rid of. And we're like, I've got a rash guard drawer now. Right. So, but like those types of things are just ingrained in who you are. And everybody that we're mutual friends with has something that like, oh yeah, this is just a cool thing that JP got for me. Or like JP gave me this. Or I've got the, what is it? I got some of the Jocko supplements that, you were just like, hey, here's a new flavor. Here's something just try out. And people come into my office and they're checking them out. And if I've got an extra can of it, I'm I'm like, here, you take this one.
Yeah,
like, it
that's
doesn't matter,
awesome.
like, whatever.
Cool.
Like, and it's that whole, like, building that culture of paying it forward that he's talking about. And that's something that your parents taught you, and I think you're passing down as well.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah, me too. I appreciate it also. Because it's keeping my wardrobe full.
Fresh and clean, dog.
That's it.
Yeah. Oh, I know as like a parent, you're probably not supposed to say this, but I think it's a non-negotiable that Aiden's going to work here.
I think that's a good call, man.
That's like one of those things where you just know it's only going to help them out. Mm-hmm. Oh man, that's incredible. I can't wait to finish this book and then us go back and do a deep dive into it. You know, I said that we weren't going to do that on books because that's what Jocko does. I'm not trying to be like Jocko's podcast, but also it's like, hey, if you come across something like this once in a while, that you know is going to, but I guess you could say that about every book. But anyways, this is not my jam.
It's just the stuff that, like, you want to add value. This is something that adds tremendous value.
It's unreal.
And does it. So what were, like, so you read the intro, like, obviously you just read it to all of us. What were your thoughts when you came across the line that, like, he takes responsibility for anything, even like the most minuscule stuff?
I think there's a physical reaction. I was like, yes. I had the book up in my hand, looking up. Yeah, if you're on YouTube, you know what I just did.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just so refreshing. It's so refreshing, and it reiterates this guy has been doing this for over 50 years.
Yep.
Jocko Leif wrote about it in 2015, and it just reiterates that these principles that we teach at Echelon Front are universal, and they've been around since the beginning of time. They're biblical principles.
100%.
Weird biblical principles.
Who knew?
And your company is successful and being blessed and flourishing and growing and expanding, and your people want to work there, and your people are happy and joyful. Like, I get it. Like, I bet if we go to a discount tire company every day of the week, you're probably going to encounter somebody that's just having an off day.
Oh, for sure.
But the times I've been there, there's always like there's super. Like, I remember the first time I went to one living here, and I hadn't been to one in a while, and it was the same thing. Like, one of the tires was like super low in our vehicle, and I'm like, that's weird. So I just went by there real quick, and it was like, oh, I need to get air. And they're like, oh yeah, there's a line. I'm like, all right, cool. So I went and got in the line, and the guy gives the air. I was like, hey, how do I was like, do I need to go inside to pay? I was like, I didn't pay ahead of time. He's like, no, it's free. And I'm like, are you serious?
Yeah.
And he goes, yeah, no. He's like, we just want to make sure you're taken care of and you're safe on the road. And I'm like, I'm talking to a kid who's 19 years old who's saying, we just want to make sure you're safe and taken care of on the road.
You're like, what the heck does he know about it?
And I was like, dude, thank you so much. And I remember looking at him, and bro, it's the middle of the summer. Remember, we're having our super hot summer here. Where, I mean, I'm not exaggerating. That day, I know it was over 110.
Yeah, easily.
It was one of those super hot days. And this kid's outside with a smile on his face, just drenched in sweat. And I said, hey, man, thank you. I was like, I really appreciate you being out here. And I said, I don't know how long you're going to work here. I said, but maintain the work ethic that you have, because it's going to take you super far in life. I'm like, you being outside, working hard in an environment that most people wouldn't want to is going to give you the advantage in life. And then just like, it was cool to like to see that kid just like smile and just kind of register like, hell yeah, I'm a hard ass worker. You know, like in his mind, 100%. He's thinking that. And I think back to the times that my dad used to like speak that into my life. Like, hey, bud, you're working hard, keep working hard. Most people don't like to work hard. Like, this is what separates us. And it's like something I think about still to this day is like, you know, and trying to ingrain that into our kids. And, you know, obviously Discount Tire, you know, this stud has done the same thing. It's impressive, but
yeah.
What else? Anything else on that intro?
It's just an enormous legacy that he left behind. When you read things like this, because of the amount of like consulting that you do, right? So not only do you
a lot,
yeah, right, but like, and that I think that's one of the things that a lot of people miss in what happens at Echelon Front is that it sounds like I say it sounds like we get the impression from the outside looking in because of your background, because of what you, Jocko, Leif, and Andrew Paul, and like so many of you guys, like Dave Burke, y'all were all like super, super, super
Jason Gardner, Steve Ward,
yeah, right.
Sean Glass, Carlos Mendez,
all squared away.
Cody Gandy, Danny Zoom, yeah.
High performing either first responders or military guys.
Rob Jones.
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
so like our thought is, from the outside looking in is, everything they do is an FTX. Like everything is the FTX, right? They're like, your business meetings are the FTX. But really, the primary thing that Echelon Front does, and correct me if I'm wrong here, is consulting work.
Yep.
You guys are talking to people. You're helping them sort out the issues with their business.
We are a leadership consulting company.
Right.
We teach leadership principles based around the lessons that we learned in Ramadi and for what Jocko did to revamp training with myself, Leif, and a lot of other guys for the West Coast SEAL teams.
Right.
And we use those principles, whether it's in a keynote, half-day, full-day workshop, to teach people the behaviors and tendencies that are needed to win and help them learn to create new habits. That's what we do.
Yeah.
And we are consulting on their businesses, what's working, what's not working. It's pretty simple.
It sounds pretty simple, but you guys deal with complicated issues.
Yes. It is simple because when you look at it through the lens of like what's working and what's not working, what makes it difficult is you have to understand the principles.
Yeah.
You can't just know them. You have to understand them. There's a difference.
Yeah. Big one.
Big difference. You got to be willing to put in the work. You got to be able to put in the reps. Like we talked a long time ago, one more rep, right?
Right.
Is it having that mindset of like one more rep, one more phone call, one more email, one more, whatever it is. You're like constantly working to be a better version of who you were.
Yeah.
And when you do that, and when you're rooted in the principles that we teach, it makes it to where you can actually consult with somebody. You can actually listen and communicate, and you can listen and you can ask them questions to help them see the solutions to their problems. Like that's, I think, the big difference for what we do at Echelon Front. It's very, very, very rare that we're ever going to sit down with somebody, listen and say, this is what you need to do.
Yeah.
Sounds cool. Good-ish for business. The problem with that is now you are their single source of answers to their problems. And that actually doesn't fully support our mission statement. Our mission statement is to create and empower leader. Like, we have a bigger mission statement, but Cliff Notes version is to create and empower leaders. Like, that's what we're trying to do. Like, when I think about what we do at Echelon Front, that's my version of the mission statement, is create and empower leaders. And if you don't understand the principles, you can't actually do that. And if I'm sitting here giving you answers to all your problems, am I creating a leader? No. I'm creating someone who's dependent upon my knowledge and my expertise, which feeds my ego.
Right.
But I'm not actually creating and empowering a leader. How you create and empower a leader is when somebody comes to you with problems, is you listen with intent, and then you ask them questions so that they can see the answers on their own. And when they see the answers to their problems, now they gain confidence, they gain belief in themselves, belief in the process, they know what to do, they're learning, boom, and they move forward and they grow to the point where they don't actually have to come to you for problems or solutions to their problems anymore. Like that's the ultimate goal. That's never going to happen because life is dynamic and evolving, and there's a lot of different variations to the problems that we have in life. But
that's why you've got so many best friends, is because they speak into, and I know we've gone back and forth on what the word best means, and you can check that out in our Q&As. Yeah, you can check it out on our YouTube exclusive Q&A stuff. But the idea that you brought forth is like each one of them speaks into a very specific area of your life, as far as like what their influence is and the way that they have helped you and all of that. And so I really dig that. And I think one of the things so circling back to like y'all's primary thing is helping to build leaders, right? And what you were talking about, I believe, after reading Leadership Strategy and Tactics, is the indirect approach, right? Is the asking questions in order to help people come to the realization on their own of like what it is that they really need to work on and those types of things so that they can own the answer. Within all of that, when you look at something like, 6 Tires, No Plan, or you read this introduction, there have to be things that you identify as a leadership instructor and as a leadership consultant, where you look at it and you're like, all right, so this kind of checks this box. This is checking this box. When you approach a company, right? If you were going to, like, let's say you just take this introduction, this guy's description of Bruce Halle, and now, all right, so this is your, basically like your dossier, right? What is your initial impression of what this company is going to be like? What are your expectations of this company going to be from a leadership consulting perspective? What boxes has he checked? What things are you looking for that like maybe didn't get said or something like that?
So assuming everyone's following these standards?
Yeah.
Okay.
If this is, so this is it. This is what they handed. Hey, you know, we've got a new client, Discount Tire is going to be coming on board. JP, here's your 2.5 page on kind of the CEO. This is how he runs the company. What are you now expecting to walk into from that standpoint?
I'm expecting nothing.
Okay, cool.
I'm expecting nothing because we can all be fed a narrative that's not accurate.
Okay, 100%.
And so when I expect nothing, it allows me to actually go in there neutral and not have any preconceived ideas. I'm not going in there as a fanboy. I'm not going in there as a hater. I'm just going in there as nothing so that I can get an honest assessment myself.
Right.
I want to go in there neutral.
Yeah.
And that's what a good consulting company should do, is you go in there and you go neutral. That's how you should go into your first date with somebody. Neutral. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You should.
Right. That's true. Yeah, you should.
I'm just saying you should.
Right.
Because what if what you've been fed by her friends or their friends, like whether you're a female or a male dating, it doesn't matter. Just take this universal.
Right.
I'm going to talk from the perspective of a man dating a woman.
Sure.
You know, like I don't know what her friends have said to be accurate or not. They, you know, let's say I'm getting set up on the date and it's like, oh, of course they're going to tell me all the amazing things about her.
No doubt.
That, you know, like, and so I'm going to go into a neutral saying, all right, cool. Yeah. Like I see a picture. Well, guess what picture they're going to show me? The absolute best picture.
It's a picture from her Instagram.
Yeah. They're going to show me the best version of who she is.
Yeah.
People show us the best version of who they are initially. That's why you should not get married after meeting somebody right away.
Yeah.
Because you're being given the best version of who they are. And so as a leadership instructor / consultant, strategic advisor, which that's what we do at Echelon Front,
right.
I have to go into these things neutral with no preconceived ideas of, are they good? Are they bad? Are they killing it here? They're not killing it over here. Here's their strengths. Here's their weaknesses. I don't truly know any of those until I can sit down and start talking with people.
Gotcha.
And listening, because once you open up that door so here's the deal. I have to create a good culture and environment when I'm working with people so that they trust me. They feel comfortable. And what I've found is when I show transparency and vulnerability myself with confidence, it really opens up the door. Because I can share my weaknesses, my failures, and my strengths. Because you have to be very careful. Because you go in there ultra humble to the point where you look like a pushover, and you're just like, oh yeah, here's all the mistakes I made. Like, okay, cool, I've made those same mistakes, but why should I listen to you? But then when you can say, here's the mistakes I made, here's what I did to fix them, here's what I've been doing to change the path I've been on, here's the success I've had as a consultant, here's some of the testimonies from the clients that I've worked with where they were doing, you know, 40 million a year, and 5 years later they hit $1 billion a year in revenue, by using these principles. When you can start sharing those stories of impact and propagating the standard,
right?
Propagating the story in regards to why your standards help, then that becomes one of those, oh, okay, cool. What do you got? Now I'm going to listen to you.
Right.
Now,
like, this is legit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as a leader, when those people are talking, I have to listen with intent, not just, oh yeah, okay, yeah, that's good, boom, 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 but like, listen with intent so I can ask the right questions to get more information, more clarity. And the reason why I go into these things neutral, you and I have talked about this before, it's my perspective is flawed. The perspective that I have, the perspective that I'm given is flawed. So I need to do as much as I can to gain as much intel to have a real feel for who somebody is.
Yeah.
And how an organization's running.
Okay, so going in with no expectation, with a neutral mindset, in order that you can get the right information and then work those, like the 4 principles that you guys use for a relationship, right? Which is trust, listen, respect, and influence, right?
Yep.
That those kind of feed one another.
And the last one that's added to it is, it wasn't like an official thing that was taught with it, but now it's like, hey, this is the 5th step.
Yeah.
Is care. Like, you have to show your people that you
100%.
care, which all those things say that, but we had to be very intentional with saying, hey, you also have to care about your people. And that's why I was like reading this intro. I'm like, dude, this guy cares for people more than anybody else I've met.
Yep.
Equal to, second to, a little bit above, I don't know, Leif Babin.
Yeah.
Dude, like the guy. And Jamie Cochran's the same way, our CEO.
She's very sweet.
Cares about everybody's success. And Jocko's the same way, but it's a different dynamic. And when you meet Leif, you're like, oh, this guy cares at a high level. Jamie cares at a high level, and everyone does at Echelon Front. So when I was reading this, I'm like, holy cow! Like, this guy, he just cares about people.
100%.
And he wants them to win more than anything. He wants people to win, and that's what a good leader should be doing.
Yeah, I enjoyed the description of, he's like saying the blessing over his meal, like he's saying grace, I think is how they described it in the introduction, and on his plane filled with his employees who are eating his food, and he's just kind of like letting everybody do their thing. He's over in the corner, saying grace and having his meal. And I think that is, it's one of those things where the description that he doesn't have to be the center of attention is such an important piece. That, like, you could talk to him for days without ever hearing about tires, that he is asking more questions and he's intentional. Like, all of those things come out in the introduction. How important are those qualities in a leader? That you do allow your employees time to hang out with one another, that you don't have to be the center of attention, that you are intentional about asking questions and listening and those kinds of things. How important are those qualities in a leader, especially as you develop? How do you maintain that type of humility instead of, because people are naturally going to want to talk to you. Like, everybody at the muster wants to come up and talk to Jocko and Leif. And the lines to talk to those guys are enormous.
Unreal.
Right?
Yeah.
So how important are those qualities to naturally have or develop? And second, how do you maintain those qualities over time as you become more successful?
So it's absolutely critical that you are able to step back and not be the main focus.
Yeah.
And that's what Echelon Front's done a really good job at with the muster, is having all the instructors a part of all those things that we do, all the meet and greets,
right?
Just hanging around, just doing Q&A with people. And then now also we just implemented this, the last 2 musters is we do these breakout sessions. So night 1, you have get after it hour, but there's different areas that you can go to, and it's like, okay, hey, Rob, JP, Jason, and Andrew are going to be talking about this, and Cody, Dave, and Jamie are going to be talking about this, and then Carlos, Sean, and Steve are going to be talking about this. And so they split up the instructors to talk about like different types of things,
right? And
then the attendees get a pick to go which session they want to join.
So is that something you guys started in San Diego? Like that just started with 0, 1, what is it, 0, 1, 8?
Yeah, we did it here in Dallas, but initially it was just Dave, Jamie, and I.
Yeah, that Q&A that you guys did at the end of day 1 was awesome.
Yeah. So now it's very similar to that, but it's with all the instructors.
That's
and
so cool.
And we're going to be doing it moving forward towards it'll be 3 or 4 different breakout rooms that people get a pick from.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So, all right. So all these things are essential. How do you maintain them? Because as your company gets bigger, or even if your company stays relatively the same size, as your revenue grows, as you become more successful, it's harder and harder to subordinate your ego. Yeah. So how do you keep your ego subordinated? And 2, how do you do it, especially with the people that are coming on as new employees or the people that are going to be part of your company when they're all seeing and experiencing the same success? How do you set that example to make sure that you can still be the guy that doesn't have to be, or the gal that doesn't have to be the center of attention and make it all about themselves, especially when it comes to the organization?
Well, that's your culture. And so you have to establish a culture around humility and subordinating your ego and decentralized command.
Yeah.
And all the laws of combat, but especially decentralized command. Because if I'm implementing decentralized command in my organization properly, how often am I actually needed to do my role? Not often. Now, there's a different way to look at that, where it's like, well, you've got to be doing different things. You're up and out. Yes, you are up and out. But I mean that in the fact, the mindset that you're not needed for your people to do their work. You're not needed because they know what they need to do. You've established the parameters, the SOPs are in place. There's an understanding, there's alignment. And so what you need to be able to do is create a culture to where people know that it's encouraged to step up, to lead, to talk, to do all these things that are needed. And you're growing somebody's comfort level. Like Cody's a shy guy. He's a very reserved, shy guy. He's fine with just not saying anything to anybody.
That's why he hates his nickname.
Yeah. Game Day Gandy. But one of the things I was working on with Cody, and I told him, I'm like, hey, man, you need to be more engaged with the client. You need to be more engaged with the client when we're running FTXs. And it wasn't that, he wasn't in a bad realm.
Right.
What he was doing wasn't bad. It was just me helping him grow to the next level.
Yeah.
He was awesome. He was doing everything right. So don't.
This isn't a criticism against Cody. This is just, hey, here's the next thing.
No, this is an example to what we're talking about, and just me saying, hey, you need to be more intentional with talking with the client, building relationships, blah, blah, blah. And so now the last couple of FTXs, and I've said this from a long time ago, and he's been doing a phenomenal job at it. He's really good at it. But for him, it was a growth thing. And I recognize that that's what he needed. And that's why as a leader, you have to know your people and know the standards that are being set. Like, what's the culture? And so for you as an organization, it's pretty simple. This is part of your onboarding. Like, hey, here's your expectations. Like, here's our expectations of you. This is how you're going to treat customers. This is how you're going to treat, the older lady that comes in at our closing time that you could tell is super upset. Like, and you go up to her and you say, hey, is everything all right? And it's like, no, and she doesn't know what's going on with her car. And, she's, you know what I mean? Like, and so you're teaching people to care and have empathy for people. That's a culture thing. And these are things that also have to be taught. Now, here's the deal. These are things that have to be taught. And where should they be being taught? At home.
Right.
Is that the case for everybody?
No.
So we know not everybody's being taught these things at home. We know not everybody has good leaders that they get to work for, like Jocko and Leif, that literally I've been around those guys my whole adult life and had good parents, and I was in church growing up. And even though I fell off the path and did a lot of crazy, stupid stuff that we'll dive into over the time with this podcast, I still always knew the difference between right and wrong. And I still always knew that you're supposed to take care of people and have empathy and help people when they're in need. And if you have the ability to bless somebody, that's 100% what you should do.
Right.
And you can't outgive God.
100%.
Doesn't matter what you do.
Yeah.
You cannot outgive God. And I've always known these things. Not everybody knows those things.
Yeah.
And people just don't know to do those things and to be a good human. And so when you are onboarding people, you have to understand that that's your duty and that's your obligation as an organization. It's your duty and your obligation to your customers to ensure that this culture is ingrained into your hires. So it's literally part of your onboarding process. It's having them read this book, having them read Extreme Ownership, Dichotomy Leadership Strategy, Leadership Strategy and Tactics.
Final Spin.
Final Spin. Yeah, it's a great book.
I'm about to. It's next in my queue. It got bumped up because of our conversation the other day.
And that conversation was on our what?
On our YouTube exclusive Q&As.
Wait, exclusive means what?
Only on YouTube.
Oh, so not going to be... So if somebody's listening to this on Spotify or iTunes...
Check it out on YouTube. That's the only place you're going to find it.
Check. And wait, so when do those come out? Just
randomly midweek.
So they should be subscribed. Mm-hmm. And it's highly encouraged that they do what?
Ding the little bell. Get notifications.
And there we go.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So you're talking about teaching empathy and compassion. I think we think of those things in particular as in two realms, and I'll separate them because I think one of those is a typically errant thought, and that is that more often than not, empathy and compassion are associated with effeminate qualities, right? And they are things that if we were to look at psychological profiles, women typically are more empathetic and compassionate as a rule than men are, right? So how do we,
I agree.
Yeah. How do we go about teaching empathy and compassion? Because those are typically not the number one or number two things that are used to describe, you know, like high achieving leaders.
So, which is sad because every high achieving leader has that.
Yes. I will
9 out of 10.
Right. Yeah. I don't know that I've been reading.
I wouldn't say everybody.
Yeah. I've been reading some books on some of the genocidal maniacs of the early part of the 20th century. I don't know that they really had a lot of empathy and compassion.
Yeah, but I don't view them as, I mean, I guess
they have a variety of mustaches, but they don't have empathy and compassion.
Yeah, I don't look at that as being a successful leader though.
Right.
But I guess what's your
definition of success, right?
of a successful leader?
Yeah.
If you're influencing people to do something, does that make you a leader? Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it's good. I mean, that's good and bad organization. So
if you've got the ire of the entire world on you on a couple of occasions, that's probably a good indicator that you need to fix something. But those are tales for another day. But the empathy and compassion are not things that are typically used to describe a lot of high level leaders. So you're right, it's something we all possess. How do we tap into that? How do we teach that to people?
Through your example, and then literally just having the conversation with somebody like, hey, here at a Little Cattle Co., like we show empathy and grace for our customers because we know they're going to make mistakes. And if, they selected the wrong shipping date and, the order is messed up, what can we do to make it right?
Right.
I mean, Origin and Jocko Fuel do that all the time.
Yeah.
And if there's something that they messed up, like they'll just be like, hey, keep it. We'll send you a new one. You're like, no, I can send it back. Like, no, keep it or gift it to somebody.
Yeah.
They're constantly doing that. And it's something that you talk about. Like you show people and then you just talk about it. Like, hey, this is what we do. Here's our core values. And I think a lot of companies and a lot of people and a lot of families, they don't have these things ingrained in the culture and DNA of who they are as an organization and as a family because they don't talk about it. We have to talk about it. There's nothing wrong with you as a leader saying, hey, we have empathy and grace here. Here's why. This is what we want to be known by. And when you can do that, well, it changes the way people think. And they know that's the standard that you have to maintain.
When you look at the stuff that was said about Halle, one of the things we both gravitated towards was his generosity, both in the way he was generous to his employees, the way he was generous to his customers. And we've talked about all the things that they give away and the fact that those things are driven by empathy and compassion. When you dive deeper into the book, it talks about him being a former Marine who was just like buried in debt, right? I don't think he got the Mustang at the 22% interest rate, but I know that is a big thing for like people whenever they first get their first paychecks is I'm going to go buy a sports car and I'm going to, whatever, right?
Yeah.
That's not his story. But when we see people who have come out of those kind of situations, they have empathy and compassion a lot of times because they remember what it was like to be in those other situations, right? And, this is the thing. Like, if somebody would have done this for me, that would have been really helpful, yada, yada.
Yeah.
When we talk about care for customers and employees, that there is a distinct difference between good customer service and genuine customer care, right? And that those things do kind of come from the top down. When you're working with leaders that, all right, let's say, they're checking all the boxes, they're listening, they're being intentional, they're showing their employees respect, they're gaining trust, they've got influence, and now you get that fifth piece that they're not doing anything to show their employees that they care. How do you teach somebody who's like, I'm doing everything right, and they're just checking the boxes? How do you teach them to engage their, for lack of a better way to put it, engage their heart in the culture that they're creating in their company and for their customers?
Yeah, so there's an exercise that we do at Echelon Front called role playing. and where we'll talk through having a hard conversation or talk through implementing a new system with your team when you know they're set on system A and you've got to implement system B.
Sure.
And we use this framework, and there's a free Extreme Ownership Academy course on this, like,
oh, cool.
The framework for having a hard conversation, implement. And so anyways, it's a very simple thing that we teach our clients, and ultimately you have to be able to have the conversation with people. And then when you have that conversation, you're providing solutions in regards to how they change habits. And I think also part of it is just having that conversation with somebody. Like, if you work for me and you're not doing these things that need to be done, whose fault is that? It's mine.
It's yours.
Yeah,
I was like, it's mine, but
you're looking at it from the view of extreme ownership.
Right.
No, if you work for me and you're on my team and you don't know to do something or you're not doing it, it's my fault. So that opens the door for me to have the hard conversation and say, hey, Lucas, I wanted to sit down and discuss with you a problem that's actually been happening consistently with how you've been greeting the customers. And, this is 100% my fault. And I want to be very clear. This is my fault because I trained you. You're on my team. This is our shift. And here's how it's impacting the actual organization as a whole.
Yeah.
And, I have some thoughts on what we need to shift and change because this is my responsibility and it's my fault. But I wanted to sit down and have the discussion with you so that you were aware of this problem, that you understood the impact that it creates to the organization, to customer, and ultimately the impact that it has on you and your family. And I want you to know I'm really sorry that I haven't had this conversation sooner. What are your thoughts on what we could do to improve how you communicate with the customers? Are you not getting enough training? Do you feel like you're rushed into this position? And I'm just going to open the door and I'm going to shut up and I'm going to listen.
Yeah.
Because what I did is I identified the problem, explained the consequences to the organization and to the individual. Mm-hmm. I'm taking ownership. I took ownership at step 2 and then also wove it into step 3 as well, because I wanted to be very clear that this is my fault. This is my responsibility. I didn't do right. So I want to be very intentional that that I'm taking ownership because I believe it to be my fault and my responsibility. And when I do that, it's going to naturally disarm you.
Right.
It's going to disarm you so that you're willing to listen to what we have saying. And then I ask you, hey, what do you think we need to do? What needs to be done so that you can have a better interaction with the customer? And I'm going to shut up and I'm going to listen because I want you to provide the solution. Because when you provide the solution, how much more likely are you to implement that solution versus me saying, hey, and by the way, this is what you're going to start doing moving forward.
Yeah. I mean, an unquantifiable amount, right? Because it would be exponentially more likely that I would do it because I'm the one that said it. Like, these are the things that I need to do. And I'm telling you what I need to be held accountable to.
And this is what we do at Echelon Front in regards to like the consulting that you're talking about earlier.
Right.
We create custom scenarios based around what's actually happening in their organization to give them tools to go have these hard conversations.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool, but you have to be intentional. You have to think about it. You have to create some role plays and work through so that you're comfortable with having this conversation, because you can't just go have the conversation without practicing, rehearsing. Because have you ever done that where like, hey, I need to go have this conversation with somebody, it's going to be a hard conversation. So you're going into it nervous. And have you ever done that and forgotten to say some of the important things that you're supposed to say?
So many times.
And then at the end of the conversation, that was this big, important conversation. They leave it thinking everything's good to go. Because that's what we default back to when we're nervous and are scared and we're not prepared to actually have the hard conversation.
Yep.
So think about if you were to prepare yourself through role playing to go have a hard conversation with a member of your church staff. Mm-hmm. Are you going to feel a little more prepared going into that conversation?
Oh, 100%.
And with being prepared, does that bring you confidence?
Yes.
With confidence, does authority kind of seem to linger there as well?
It oozes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's not authority in a negative manner, but it gives you authority to hold, maintain, and direct the conversation.
Yeah.
Ultimately, why are you doing this as a leader? You're doing it because you care about them. That's why it's important to be prepared to have these hard conversations.
I do think that that's one of the things, you know, I read a book several years ago by a lady named Susan Scott, who is a CEO coach. And the name of the book is called Fierce Conversations. And it talks about how most CEOs, most of the CEOs that she coached, right? So a lot of it's anecdotal, that they avoided having hard conversations just kind of across the board, that they would rather make mandates and just like say, this is what we're going to do, everything's going to change, versus having the hard conversation, because they didn't see one because there was like some awkwardness in doing it, right? But the second,
why they're called hard conversations.
Yeah, right. But the second was because they didn't see the value in sitting down and having the conversation when the mandate to them, like sending the email that this is the way we do things now, stop doing this, start doing this, that felt more efficient, and that there were a lot of people who were in that C-suite that found themselves in these really weird sort of feedback loops where they're like, I keep telling everybody to do this and nobody's doing it. And it's because, you know, she would point out to them, it's because you're not having any time where you actually addressing the issue with everybody. Now, she didn't set up the same kind of framework that you guys did. Yeah. But I do love that idea that extreme ownership does show some of the best care, because it shows that not only are you willing to have the conversation, you're willing to take the responsibility for the things that are negatively happening and then move. My struggle with this, which is a recent struggle, is that now that I'm practicing this, now that we've got people that are taking ownership, it is a struggle for me in subordinating my own ego, that when something gets mentioned that is part of the extreme ownership framework, that I don't immediately like get my hackles up at my own failures. So here's an example. We had an event last night. We do a Valentine's Day thing. We bring in a comedian, make a dinner, like the whole thing. It's a ton of fun. And we've got some incredible comedians that have become friends of mine over the years from doing podcasts and different kinds of things. I am one of these people that when it comes particularly to event planning and that kind of thing, I do a lot of the stuff in my head. And I'm like, nope, we got all this stuff done. People are like, hey, do you need any help with this? No, I don't. I'm all good. My gal who's my right hand at the church, Heather, comes to me a couple of days before and she's like, do you need any help with anything? And she lists a couple of things. And I was like, I hadn't really thought all the way through that. And she's like, well, I've been asking you for weeks. Now I'm at a point where I can't help you if anything goes wrong or if any of this stuff happens. I'm like, right on. She goes, she's like, I was talking about this with my husband, who's one of the other leaders at our church, Jason. He's a great dude, one of my best friends. Now that I've got multiple, I'm on board now. And so Jason goes, just tell him to read chapter 6. Like that was his whole response to her dilemma that she had. And I was like, chapter 6. So I go, again, back to the book, right? That's one of the things in the DEF thing is go back to the book. Yeah. So back to the book, chapter 6 is on simple. And I'm reading it. I'm like, I've made the instructions really simple. Like I've done all of this. Well, there's a spot in there where the guys are talking about, make sure everybody knows the details of the plan, what they are, how they're supposed to go down. Yeah. All of those details were in my head. Yep. And so the rest of my team is totally unprepared for everything. They're just looking to me for all of it. So not only have I not like done a great job of decentralized command when it comes to this event, but on top of that, like I haven't even got like 2 steps prior to that to the simple piece where that can happen. My struggle is all right, I'm doing a good job of caring for my team, all of this stuff. Like I've got them on it. Apparently I'm setting a good enough example of the framework to where other people are like buying into it. They're taking ownership of their end of it. But now like I'm having to choose not to feel like they just threw extreme ownership in my face as a thing, which, you know, didn't do. Yeah. There are a lot of us though that like once we get this example set and people start to buy into it, how do we keep our level of care, compassion, and empathy for others whenever they've said to us like, oh, remember this thing that you told us we needed to do and that we should be really good at? Yeah. You're typically really good at modeling it. You're not right now. Will you fix that so that the rest of us can do our jobs well? How at that point do we keep, you know, from getting our hackles up and continue to set that good example?
Yeah, well, I mean, detachment is a superpower. So one, we have to stay detached from our emotions and understand,
Fair.
That, I choose not to take it as an attack.
Right.
Now, that's why I said it's very important that you heard what I just said. I choose to not take it as an attack because that could be an attack. If I take it as an attack, what I'm going to do? I'm going to fight back. I'm going to push back.
Like get defensive.
Yes. So I have to fight that urge to be defensive and fight back and just explain to myself like, hey, I'm wrong. They're right. And so what's funny in that statement that you said is there's actually not implementing a lot of ownership themselves right there, because they're saying, hey, if you were to do this better, I'd be able to do my job. Okay. Yeah, I agree with you.
Sure.
Why is that? And then you start to pull the thread and you start to have conversations and you understand like, oh, this is why they feel that way.
Yeah.
So as a leader, we have to be intentional with finding out, why do our people feel a certain way? Why are they doing things a certain way? Why are they not doing things a certain way? And what can you do to empower them, whether it's through training, resources, whatever it is, to be able to get the job done efficiently and effectively.
Yeah.
So, because if someone on my team was like, hey man, I can't get my job done because you're not doing this or you're doing all these things, I'm 100% going to say, hey man, I'm really sorry.
Right.
Like, I'm really sorry that I've hindered you from growing and being able to do your job. Obviously, that's a big problem. I actually see how this impacts the organization. Man, I'm sorry. This is my fault. I should have recognized this sooner. I have a few ideas as to what I could do, but I would love to hear your ideas in regards to what's going to impact you. I'm bringing it right back to that same format, but changing the structure in regards to how I communicate it to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. And it's one of those things that's interesting because like we recognize all these qualities in good leaders.
That's my goal is I'm showing you the mirror.
Right.
So where you're seeing yourself. To reiterate what we talked about earlier, if I was like super direct, I'm like, hey, this is what you're going to do, blah, blah, blah. You're like, all right, cool, I might do it. But ultimately, when I use that framework, my goal is if you're saying, hey, I can't do my job because you're not doing your job. Like, I know that was an example, but for me, that's cringing. Of that is that person that's saying that isn't taking ownership themselves. They're saying, hey, if you could start doing these things, then we would be able to do our job. It's called taking ownership, not blaming people. So if you're blaming your boss about not doing their job because they're not implementing these principles, you lost the whole concept and principle behind it itself. Yeah. So with that thought process, okay, when I'm showing somebody what they need to be doing by my actions, then I'm also able to empower them to go out there and get to work themselves. Like, I love telling people, hey, talk is cheap. Like, what are you going to do about it? And then just encourage them to work through it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. I think, dude, I'm excited as you dive more into this book to get all of your thoughts on Bruce Holly's story and kind of where he came from to where he's going to go. Do you think we got some time to answer some questions from the interwebs?
Yeah,
let's do some internet questions. Yeah,
let's do a few questions real quick, and then I know we're going to knock out some more questions on the YouTube channel.
Yep,
and again, to reiterate, the reason why we're doing these these random Q&As on YouTube is because we've been getting a lot of requests with different questions, and we want to keep these episodes on Friday to be providing value outside of just Q&A. We'll keep doing like a full-blown, like, hey, this all we're doing today is Q&A. But I don't know about you. I learned a lot from this, of us being able to go back and forth. That opened up my mind to different things. That's why I was over here taking notes. Yeah. And so that's what we want, is we want the Fridays to have value that somebody can take either from our stories, us going back and forth on a subject, reading out of a book, and obviously interviewing people. Yeah. That's going to be huge. And the Q&A sessions, occasionally we'll do a full-blown Q&A session on here on a Friday episode that's available on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube. Right. But we're shifting and pushing most of our we're shifting and focusing most of our questions over to YouTube. So that, anyways, we want people to be more comfortable with that.
Yeah. All right. So, you ready for question number 1?
I'm so nervous. Yes.
Yeah. All right. So February 11th was 365 days of no alcohol for you. You hit the 1-year mark. And what has that change right? Because that was a conscious decision to stop. That was not like, I've got a problem, I'm drinking 10 beers a day kind of a thing. It was a conscious decision to stop. What has that change meant for you over the course of this past year?
Make a plan, stick to your plan. Make a commitment, stick to your commitment. Write a contract, execute the contract that you make with yourself.
Yeah.
And going that one time we were talking about like one more rep. I'd literally look at each day as one more rep. So, yeah, originally I wanted to go 6 months, and then I pushed it to a year, and now that I'm in a year, it's like, who knows what's next? Who cares?
Yeah.
It's all good.
Have you seen like improvement in like quality of life or in certain areas, or is this just one of those things where like, hey, you know what? This is just not a thing I'm doing anymore.
I mean, yeah, I'm sure there's improvements. Like I don't wait, I'm not hungover on the weekend, so
For sure,
I'm
right.
a more present father.
Right.
I've got to be healthier,
And there's a sense of accomplishment, obviously, that goes along with it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
There's a big sense of 1 year, and it's just, and I didn't look at it as like that big of a deal.
Mm-hmm.
But what was cool is like that post, like there's a lot of people like, man, that's incredible. Congratulations.
Yep.
And I've also found out that by me making that first original post and then a couple talking about it on Jocko's podcast and then making a post and talking about it a few times, I have a handful of other buddies that legit drink all the time that are now 6+ months sober.
Yeah.
Like guys are like, hey,
several guys that have posted on this that are like, hey, just hit my 6 month. This is such an inspiration. Happy for you,
So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with that.
Yeah. Which I think, and I've talked on here a couple of times, like the work that we do with people who are in recovery. Yeah. Like just stopping to say, hey, you know what? If I can do this and inspire some other people with it, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Alcohol. I mean, if you want to enjoy, here's the deal. I don't care. You want to enjoy alcohol, have at it. For me, drinking hard liquor and beer just isn't really appealing anymore.
Yeah.
I like red wine. So if I do decide to drink again, it'll be like a nice glass of red wine with my wife.
And with a nice little cattle coast steak.
Oh yeah, nice big old tomahawk.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about.
Those sirloins, though, man, are unreal.
They're sneaky. They're sneaky
you wouldn't
good.
think a sirloin is going to be that good. Terrace Major, remember? I cut that out. You were like, "What is this?"
Yeah, that tiny cut from the shoulder clod.
Come on.
All right, I got a question here from Ranger Mueller. So Origin has released the new Mother of All Britches, the Moab pants.
Yeah.
He's a park ranger.
Oh, dude, let's go.
Yeah. State of Michigan. Are the Moab pants all they're cracked up to be durable enough for 3 to 5 days a week of hard use?
100%. And here's the cool thing with Origin. If they don't stand up to how they're supposed to be, they're going to fix them, replace them, or make it right. So I would say yes, because the pair I have is incredible, and I've actually allegedly may have ordered a few other pairs.
Oh, nice. Look at you go with all your allegedlys.
Well, I'm saying allegedly in case Amanda actually is listening to this.
I think we're safe, right? Kirsten's not going to listen to anything until I'm in my 50s. So we got to give it, 17 years, and she'll listen to the first one, which is not true because she did listen to the girls. She wanted to support. Oh, yeah. Yeah, she wanted to support the young ladies who were really awesome in helping me do a role play with our police department this week on a Zoom call, which was hysterical.
They were all about that.
Yeah. Okay, so Formiga's opened up his new spot.
Yes.
Right? 4,000 square foot of mats.
Yeah.
It's
insane.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place to learn and to do the gentle art of jiu-jitsu.
Yes,
right?
And they also do kickboxing.
So I'm looking at the video, right?
My buddy G teaches it. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So that's happening kind of over in the corner in one of your Instagram videos. Yeah. One of the questions we get asked a lot, right? JP, favorite submission. What's your go-to?
I've been trying to hit it from or set it up from a lot of different spots, but my buddies call it the JP gift wrap.
I had a feeling this was going to be it.
I mean, that's why, because I get it, and it's sneaky, and people don't think, they think I'm using it to stop someone from moving. They don't realize that I can turn it into a submission. So
yeah.
I like that one. And then, man, I've been trying to get better at doing some lapel chokes.
Okay.
From the bottom.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And it doesn't, like, you can't really tell what I'm doing until I get it. And what's awesome is I either get the choke or I get the sweep.
Okay.
You're not staying in that position.
Yeah.
If you do, I'm like going to pop your head off.
You go night-night?
Oh, you're going to sleep.
Yeah.
If you don't go to sleep, you have to ditch every other thing that you had that was keeping me down in that locked down in that side control spot. I've literally used it and just sat up like a Turkish get up with still holding on to it, and then sat them up to where they're standing up while being choked.
Wow.
And then I let go of it, and then we restarted on the feet.
Dang.
Did that one time, like stood them up and let go, and they were kind of like getting to it, and I just blasted a double leg right away. But you know, those are when you're having a hard round with somebody that wants to go hard. But yeah, I've been doing those two.
There is somebody on here named Andy Stumpf. I don't know. I'm familiar. I've heard the name before.
Yeah.
Heard the name before. But they're curious how you measure your heart rate while you're rolling. And I actually have had the same question.
Yeah.
Right?
Because so I have a heart rate monitor from Garmin called the Garmin Tri, like TRI, like triathlon.
Right. Or Trident.
Trident, yeah. But I think it's made for triathlon athletes because it has a picture of somebody running, a picture of somebody biking, and a picture of somebody swimming.
Okay. That makes a lot more sense.
I like the Trident aspect,
for sure.
especially with this Andy guy.
Yeah. Andy seems like the kind of guy that would like Tridents.
He's probably stolen Valor.
Yeah, no doubt.
Somebody should do actually, if you're listening to this, you should call Andy Stump out for his stolen Valor.
Yep.
See how well that works out for you. I'm just kidding. Do not do that.
I saw him get those fatigues from an Army Navy surplus store.
Do not. Andy's a good buddy of mine. Freaking stud. 20 plus years in the SEAL teams. Like, guy is incredible. And what makes
He's written some good books too along the way.
So what makes Andy incredible is his ability to continue to serve other people.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's a monster in jiu-jitsu. I don't know how I've avoided rolling with him at immersion camp 2 years in a row.
Oh yeah.
By the complete grace of God, he hasn't destroyed me yet.
Right.
He is so strong, and he is so good at jiu-jitsu. And I want to make sure that it's very clear that he is so good at jiu-jitsu I rank higher than how strong he is. And so you have an athlete who's very oddly strong for his size and like just his stature, oddly strong, and really good at jiu-jitsu, and extremely intelligent, runs the OODA loop in all aspects of life faster than most people.
Oh, I think I like him less than I like Cody Gandy.
Really good looking.
Yeah.
His wife's a black belt in jiu-jitsu also.
This whole family sucks.
Super successful in business.
I don't like him at all.
Yeah. Where was I going?
So it's the Tri?
Yes. Sorry, the Garmin. As I'm going, everyone's like, this guy doesn't like Andy. And then I just went into my love fest with Andy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of why he's one of my heroes as a human. So it's the Garmin Tri for triathlons. And so I put that on underneath my rash guard.
Okay.
And then on my watch, I will start a workout. It shows me sync to heart rate monitor. And then I just start the workout. It tracks.
Do you wear the watch while you roll?
No. I take my watch off.
Okay, so the watch can go in the back.
The watch can go anywhere.
Okay, cool.
As long as you have the watch near the heart rate monitor.
To sync the workout?
To sync it.
Okay.
Watch stays wherever.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, it could be put in my wife's purse. She could leave. And then as long as she doesn't stop it, it's still it's not tracking
Very
it
cool.
because it's not there. But as soon as it comes closer, it'll be ding, show the data on the watch again. So there's times when I'm rolling with it, when I get a drink of water in between rounds, if I need one, or sometimes I'll just walk over just to see what my heart rate is, because I want to see, okay, how high did it get? And then I'll look at it, and then boom, I'll go back and see what it's dropped before the round. So I keep it close enough towards tracking the whole time. But even if it got far enough away to where it wasn't tracking, as soon as you get back close to that watch, let it sync again, stop the exercise, and then it transfers all the data from the heart rate monitor to the watch.
That's cool.
And that's where I get all those graphs and all those pictures with all that information.
Yeah, so I've wondered about that too, because like there's no way I can roll with my watch on.
No,
And
nobody
that's
can.
That's the only thing,
and you
right?
shouldn't.
Right. Oh yeah, it would be a danger to you and your training partners if you did that.
Absolutely.
So is this like a hard plastic piece that kind of like sits in your chest?
Yeah, so the sensor is right in the middle, like so the sensors are on each side of it. Like you know where the sensor is. It's like literally right below,
just under your pectorals,
just underneath your pectorals, right? Why did I say right 3 times in a row? That's one of my pet peeves is when people talk. They're like, right? And you're like, don't say that. You literally are taking away from the statement you just said. Anyway, sorry. It's like one of my biggest pet peeves when people speak, because I used to do it all the time. And Late Babin pulled me aside at a training. I was like, hey, you keep saying right. You don't have to say that, because when you say something and then all of a sudden you're like, right, you're actually taking away from the impact of the statement that you just had.
You're asking the audience for affirmation.
100%.
Yep. I used to do that too. It drove me nuts.
Yeah. So and then once he brought it to my awareness, I'm like, oh my gosh. And so I would say it and I'm like, like on the inside. And then over time I was able to correct and create habits where I corrected that.
Yeah.
But I don't know why I just said it that many times. That actually bothers me.
No, you're doing great.
So anyways, right. I'm going to change up this habit, right?
Yeah. 100%.
It was
I'll be over here in a
It was cool is when somebody writes, they're right.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
That's the best.
That's perfect.
So the underneath the pec, and then there's a hard like little computer on the chest strap. Yes, that is a hard piece of metal, a hard piece of plastic, but it's protected by a slightly rounded piece of rubber. Okay. And it just sits right in the middle. And I've never had anybody feel it and go, ow, that hurts me, or hey, what is that? Right. I had somebody put their hand on it one time and they're like, what is that? I'm like, my heart rate monitor. They're like, oh, cool. That's all it was.
And then they just continued to crush your sternum.
Yeah, and then they just went elbow into my sternum, and then hand over my face, and I panicked and I stabbed him in the throat. No,
well, there you go.
Yeah, if you were to
fake Josh Strasburger stabs.
Yeah. So the Garmin Tri is what I use, and I have a Garmin watch, and it syncs everything. And then when I open up the app on my phone, it gives me all that data.
Is it ever uncomfortable? Like if people put pressure on it, it's not uncomfortable?
Not yet.
Do you think that that's because you have giant pectorals and that it would not be uncomfortable for regular people?
I have a bird chest, bro. I don't have giant pectorals. Jocko, giant pectorals. Echo Charles, giant pectorals.
Echo Charles is a giant, just muscles all over. That
I don't have a big chest.
That's a huge dude. You have a...
No, I do not.
Okay, hold on. Just let me... You just tried to predict what I was going to say. You have a very muscular upper body.
So, okay, my back.
Maybe. Okay,
I have a thick back.
Your back.
My back is thick.
But your chest is bigger than most people's.
Than a boy in junior high? Okay, maybe.
Yes.
Factual.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, you're right.
Or some of the guys that we roll with that don't, like, that they're not weight training, right? That if what they have mainly done is like push-ups or like calisthenic stuff, body weight training, those kinds of things. But you would say no, it's not because of your chest, massive or otherwise.
No, I don't have a massive chest, so that's the answer. Is no.
No, it's not. So it'd be comfortable for anyone.
It does. Yes, it'll be fine. Anybody will be fine to wear it.
All right. Well, that makes sense. I appreciate you answering that question so succinctly.
I remember one time I think I know why I got triggered by that.
I would love to. That's my next question. Why did you get triggered by that?
Because I know factually I don't have a big chest. And I remember I was in my first platoon.
Okay.
And we're unloading stuff from the box car. It was like a big box truck, right? We call them not box car, box truck. We're unloading gear. And, you know, it's like Jocko says often on his podcast, like, dude, being in the SEAL teams was awesome. Like, you wear like a t-shirt, workout shorts, and boots for most of your time. And most of the time, you're not even wearing a t-shirt if you're outside working. And so we're just boom. So I'm unloading the truck, and somebody says something to me, like, smart. I mean, they're joking. I'm a new guy also.
Right.
Boom. And I turn, and I just turned, but I wasn't like bowing up to anybody, but like I turned, and I remember Chris Kyle goes, "Don't you try to peacock that little bird chest. You ain't got nothing up there, boy." And I was just like, I hate you. Don't you try to peacock that little bird chest, boy. You ain't got nothing up there. I'm like, okay, check.
Well,
and he was factual.
He sounds like he was an absolute riot to be around, man. Like he was, every story that I hear you guys talk about.
One of the other older guys in the platoon, who was an older guy to Chris.
Right.
So you had one extra platoon ahead of Chris. His nickname was Pepper. He got his name because he got they got in a big bar fight up in Lake Tahoe.
Okay.
And he got pepper sprayed, and he proceeded to still whoop the living crap out of everybody and the bouncers that tried to, like, thinking that was going to, it just made Pepper even more effective as a fighter / warrior.
They just activated the next level.
Yeah, it's like pouring water on an oil fire. It just makes it worse. Like, that was like, oh, you pepper sprayed him? Well, now this happened. So,
well, that's the last mistake you'll make.
Yeah, when you're a new guy and you're like, "Yeah, this is Pepper," and you're like, "Hey, nice to meet you," and you're just going through, and then somebody else tells you that story, you're like, "Oh, I mean, I was already scared as a new guy. Now I'm terrified."
I'm terrified. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but Pepper's an awesome dude. He taught me a lot in the SEAL teams. I mean, a lot. There's a lot of times he'd pull me aside and be like, "Hey, check this out." That was just saying, "Hey, check this out."
And that was it.
And then we just start having conversations. Sometimes it was because I did something right. Most of the time it was because I did something that was not correct. Hey, check this out. And we just start working through it. But anyways.
I'm going to keep that in my back pocket to use on others. I'm not going to use it on you. I don't think you have a bird chest, but I do think that it's hysterical. Don't you? That's a great retort to use on. I'll use it on my junior high boys. Yeah. Don't you peacock that little bird chest at me?
Don't you peacock that little bird chest at me?
That's awesome. Yeah. All right, man. Last question is, after listening to the episode with your girls, what is one piece of parenting advice that you would give to all of our listeners?
Let your kids be kids. Don't put them in a box. Don't medicate them. Don't let them stay on electronics all day long. Let your kids be kids. You send kids outside. Just watch. They know what to do.
Yeah. They're
going to start playing with rocks and sticks. Guess what they're probably going to create first? A mud pit. Let them have it. Let them have a freaking mud pit. Who cares? Almost changed our rating for a second. You got nervous.
Yeah,
you're like, oh,
no, this will be fine.
This is going to be an easy that we put over it. Or what are you saying? Like a car horn?
Like uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Yeah. There would be a lot of uh-ohs on that one. Let your kids be kids, man. Quit taking life so serious. Quit being so stressed out. And for the parents that you're like listening right now and you feel like I'm being aggressive towards you, I'm not attacking you. I can actually relate to where you're at right now. I've been there. I've been stressed out as a parent. I've been where I don't want my kids to get muddy. I don't want them to be dirty. I don't want them to track it inside the house. But man, that time is fleeting, and there is going to be a time that comes very quickly where those moments are gone. And you'll never get them back. You'll never get those back. I was in my closet getting ready this morning, and I have a corkboard in there, and it has some patches on there that are important to me. And I have these drawings that Cora's made me since she was very, very little. Her and Nola always make them, but Cora is very intentional about making them. And it just shows her innocence and her love. And the thing that I noticed that is changing is the innocence in those drawings. Not that she's being changed in a negative way, but she's growing up. She's starting to become a young lady. And it's not the little girl drawings anymore. It's not the little girl notes to her daddy anymore. She's a young woman. She's getting to be that way. And I just realized, I'm like, holy crap, like this time is going really, really fast. So as a parent, make the most of the time and let your kids be kids, because there will become a point very quickly that they don't want to be kids anymore. And some of the best years of parenting is when your kids are kids.
Yeah.
So hold on to it and enjoy it.
Right on, man.
Yeah. So
I'm going to take that advice and run with it.
Let's go, baby.
Yeah.
Come on now. So as always, we thank you guys for listening and subscribing and commenting and sharing and just creating a community around the podcast that, we talked about. It's crazy the amount of support that we get. It's really cool. If you're not following us on social media, I am at JP Dinnell. Lucas is at Lucas Pinkard. That's LucaspiNCKARD. Also, make sure you're following Echelon Front. We are at Echelon Front. We are on Instagram, Facebook, also on LinkedIn as well. If you want to learn more about what we do at Echelon Front, go to echelonfront.com. Also, check out our YouTube page. They've been putting out crazy awesome content on there recently. I'd love to see you guys at one of our FTXs, at a council battlefield review. I'm stoked. In April, I'm going to Gettysburg to do a battlefield
review.
Are you
really?
Yeah. I get to go this year, and I've been trying to go for the last 2 years, and the schedule never lined up. And I was like, hey, hard hold on the calendar. Like, I've got to be there. So I'm pretty fired up about that.
That's awesome.
If you want, you can also check out the Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu podcast that we talked about earlier, Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu _ USA ministry that I'm a part of with my bros, Isaac, Steven, and Josh. We also do live events I would say consistently about every 6 weeks.
Yeah,
we're trying to hold that. Podcast comes out every Tuesday, and then we do the live events about, I would just say, every other month to be safe. Yeah. Different gyms that will host a free jiu-jitsu seminar. Somebody shares their testimony, and then we get into the jiu-jitsu. Also a partner of a Texas beef company called Little Cattle Co.
Get that beef.
Yeah, dog. If you want to follow us on Instagram, it's at Little Cattle Co. Just CO. Our website is www.littlecattle.co. So it's our company name as a website. My best friend Stephen Little started that back in 2017, and my wife and I partnered with him and his wife in early 2023. We delivered Texas beef to anywhere in the lower 48. We can also send boxes of beef to your clients, customers, family, friend members as a gift, as a intentional gift that they know that you were thinking about them. They're going to enjoy it. You're going to enjoy the feedback that you get from that. And if you want, we can also send a custom note in there for you. If you're doing it as a gift, we can do that as well. It's a good way to show people that you care and appreciate. And we also have a warehouse in Argyle. We are in Argyle, Texas, for local pickups. So we do that as well.
That's pretty cool.
Also, another company I'm a part of, On the Path Printing. Josh and I started the apparel printing company last year. Just slowly been working at getting things up and running with it. So if you have apparel printing needs, let us know. And as always, want to thank everyone at Origin and Jocko Fuel for all the support that they have continued to give myself, my family, and now this podcast and everything that I'm a part of. Peter Roberts started that company with his wife and a handful of loyal followers. to where they're bringing manufacturing back to America. And originally it was just in the Jiu-Jitsu game, just 100% American-made Jiu-Jitsu gis and rash guards. And now with the partnership of Jocko, have really grown and expanded the company for the Jocko Fuel side, which is all their supplements, all that clean energy drinks, the clean supplements that you need for life. And then also on Origin, they now have a 100% American-made hunt line, partnered up with Cameron Haynes, Kip, who was one of the co-founders of Under Armour, which is incredible. His story is absolutely amazing. Jeans, boots, their new Nylock pants are insane, comfortable, super comfortable pants. It's the same base and foundation that they use for their hunt pant, but now they have them for everyday use. And then they also have a version of it to where it's like for the businessman that's just traveling, where it doesn't have the bends in the knees or the cargo pockets on it. Real slick design, which is awesome. I love those for travel. Cool. Yeah, and then also speaking, the Versa pants, same thing. So a lot of stuff going on. You can check them out at originusa.com or jockofuel.com to get your supplements and clean energy drinks. A lot of you guys use my discount code when you go there, which I appreciate. Help support this podcast, because I use that stuff to go back into this podcast, and then also to help bless different families and ministries that need it, like Walking in Truth. It's a ministry I help with. I actually sit on the board of Walking in Truth Ministry, and then help at their events, Pursuit for Truth. So if you want to learn more about those events, pursuitfortruth.com. But just to go back to what we were talking about in regards to advice for our kids, as we close it out, Lucas, it's just make the most of the time. I know we talk about that often on this podcast, but it's just, I cannot reiterate it enough to myself, and and to you as a father of you have a healthy, beautiful young boy that you and your wife have, and your wife is pregnant. That time is going to go by so quick. I literally remember holding my daughters in the hospital for the very first time, and I remember watching Amanda that very first time, breastfeeding both of them at the same time, and I'm like, oh my gosh, and then all of a sudden you see them walking, and then then them running, and then me coming home from work and them standing outside the driveway waiting on me to be home from work. And they're in their little dresses, and then, or, sometimes they'd be in their PJs because it'd be late at night, but they wanted to wait for me to come home. And then, last night was Valentine's Day, and Amanda and I were serving at church, and because our kids are a part of the Elevate, and now those little girls are helping serve at church, and Pastor Ethan had Cora help him host the Elevate Youth Church event last night.
That's so
where
cool.
She's on stage with a microphone interacting, and I'm just like, my little babies are gone. Yeah. I don't have little babies anymore. I have young women. Amanda and I have a young man with Aiden, and we can't get those days back. And you can't get those days back. You have to make the most of the time with your family. You have to make the most of the time with your loved ones. You have to make the most of the time with the opportunity that God has given you, because if you don't, you're wasting it. And to me, that's one of the worst things that you could do with this life that we've been given, is to waste the opportunities that God has given you. So go out there, put in the work, get in the extra reps, and do the right thing. This has been the JP Dinnell Podcast, episode 21.